to talk to us, and stuff like that. So they're really doing much, to help us. They're doing their best.
And tell me, is Damien a fighter?
He's not really a fighter. He's a kind of laid-back person, But I know he's down there trying to get to us.
New Yorkers sometimes, people who are from out of town think New Yorkers are heartless and don't work together.
Not Damien,
But the people, when you've been going on the streets, putting up your posters, have people been supportive?
This is very, very supportive. It's wonderful to see how New Yorkers, they get together, especially in crisis. We all stick together.
Well, thank you, ma'am, and the best of luck finding Damien. We have another woman who wanted to come talk with us.
Miss?
Ma'am, tell me your name and who you're looking for.
My name is Ellie Nagler, and I'm here because my friend Alex Baelish, who's a Red Cross worker, he's working like 24 hours a day. This is his best friend, Ian Thompson, and Alex is working so hard he can't do this right now. So I had the day off, and I decided I would come and just put posters up and come and talk to people and see, whether anybody might have seen him. So we were all very worried about him. He was a great guy. He's the kind of guy who would have been helping other people down. And he was on the 84th floor, and nobody's heard from him. He's got a wife and a baby. So, we're just all concerned. And it's a great place to be, really, because everybody's really very supportive.
And tell me, what kinds of things are you as a group doing to look for him?
Well, I know they're going to register, him. They haven't done it yet because his wife has to take care of the baby, and, she's really the one that knows him well, and Alex is, working really hard. So they're doing that, and they're just trying to contact a lot of the people that he worked with and seeing whether anybody might, remember where he was. And, so far we don't really have a lot to go on.
Has anyone been able to tell you anything?
They don't have any information at this point. It's a dead end.
I was talking to the woman before you that sometimes out-of-towners think New Yorkers are heartless, don't help each other out. How have people hung together today?
Oh, people are great. I mean, I was really a little frightened coming down here. I didn't know what to expect, and I was a little scared. And everybody's so supportive, and we put up a bunch of posters. And I love reading about other people's families. It's very sad, but it makes you feel good that you live in New York. And I've been here my whole life. This is amazing experience. Very sad. Very, very sad.
And tell me, what did he do at Eurobrokers?
He's a broker. I don't know. I really don't know him, and this is just a plea from my friend. Can you help me? We want to get the information out about this guy. I know you're not working, but I'm working. So can you spend the day putting posters up? And so I did it.
This was a building that obviously was in trouble in 1993. The people who worked there, were they nervous about it? Did they think about it?
I have a few friends who actually worked in the building, and my a roommate, and she worked on the 84th floor. As a matter of fact, it's the same floor this guy worked on, and she used to be very scared of working there. Eventually, she got another job, so I'm pretty sure she's really happy about that. People, you get used to stuff, but it's just too high a building. I mean, it was just too high, and I don't know, it's scary.
Something that sort of hit me after talking to all the families is that I haven't heard anybody be angry at the people who did this. Everyone is just sad and at the same time hopeful that their friend is alive. Have you heard anyone be angry?
I think the anger is really going to come. I find myself, consider myself a really liberal person, and I'm getting really angry. So, there's a lot of anger out there. It's just that right now we're trying to deal with finding anybody that's possible to find, hoping against hope that, there might be some people still that were trapped, who might come out alive. And after that, then, hey, deal with the people that did this very severely.
It's Friday now. The explosion was Tuesday morning. It's now Friday evening. Has hope diminished?
I don't want to say that. I think that, I haven't been down there. I mean, you could spend your days crying about the people that are trapped in there, or you could just keep on looking. I know these guys are working really hard to find anybody, and, hopefully they'll find some people. I mean, you can't give up. You just can't give up at this point. It's too early.
And tell me, where are people putting the posters, and how many of you are working on finding him?
Well, I came with my aunt. My aunt did all the copying for me of the posters, and we started 57th Street, and we just keep on putting them up, all the way down here, and we put up about 30 posters already.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you so
luck.
much.
Wolf, back to you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And even as this painful and treacherous search and rescue operation continues here in Washington, Secretary of State Colin Powell had some pointed comments today on the nature of the war ahead and how it will differ from any other war this country has ever fought.
This is different. The enemy is in many places. The enemy is not looking to be found. The enemy is hidden. The enemy is very often right here within our own country. And so you have to design a campaign plan that goes after that kind of enemy. And it isn't always blunt force military, although that is certainly an option. It may well be that the diplomatic efforts, political efforts, legal, financial, other efforts may be just as effective against that kind of an enemy as would military force be. And the point the President made this morning is that the whole cabinet's involved, and we're going to use all the tools and weapons at our disposal to fight this campaign and to win this war.
Our national security correspondent David Ensor has been checking with his sources in the intelligence community and elsewhere to find out precisely what's going on. What have you learned today, David?
Well, Wolf, first of all, U.S. officials are saying to me, excuse me, that there's evidence there may still be terrorists inside the United States who are hoping to attack targets. So there's a real sense of concern, and that is why so many security measures are being taken. There is still evidence. As one official put it, there's reason to believe not all the perpetrators are dead or in jail. Officials say they can't rule out that there may be additional pilots with ties to terrorist organizations inside the U.S., and there may be other types of threats as well. So that perhaps is the headline. Now, concerning diplomacy and the efforts that Secretary Powell just talked about, tremendous number of calls out to allies and to other nations, particularly in the region, obviously. And the message is, particularly with nations that may in some cases have hedged their bets in the past, it's time to choose sides. And in one specific area, the United States officials say is asking for cooperation that can be checked. It's asking nations like Pakistan and moderate Arab states to stop the flow of any money to charities and other organizations that are thought to be fronts for the bin Laden organization. And it is saying that in the past, a lot of these nations have turned a blind eye to wealthy Muslim people, individuals, sending some money, and it's been kind of considered a hedge. The U.S. wants these countries to enforce this now, and it says it will be looking to see whether they do or not. And it has sources and methods with which to do that, Wolf.
And David, this organization that Osama bin Laden heads, this Al-Qaeda organization, how big of a group is this? How many people does the U.S. intelligence community believe is involved?
They really don't have an estimate on the numbers, size. It's a hydra-headed organization. It's not even really an organization. It's sort of a loosely knit group of like-minded people. There are affiliations with things like Islamic Jihad in Egypt, where bin Laden's doctor is in fact the head of it. There are a lot of different kinds of groups, and the kinds of individuals that were apparently involved in these terrorist attacks in the United States, they operated very much separately. They didn't need to communicate. They didn't need to be in touch with anyone else. Their mission was started a long time ago. So it operates in a very compartmentalized way, making it difficult for U.S. intelligence to track it. Nonetheless, they are tracking some of the communications, and they do still have, and are continuing to find more evidence, they tell me, that the people who were involved in these attacks can be linked to the bin Laden organization. Now, there may be other organizations involved, other ties as well, but that is one thing they are still saying, started saying Tuesday, and they're still saying, Wolf.
And finally, David, we've all heard that Osama bin Laden is a wealthy Saudi fugitive. How much money does he have and his organization have? Is there any estimate how much money they have at various banks and how this money can be tracked, if at all?
Well, as you see on the screen, And as I was saying earlier, wealthy Muslims in a number of countries are known to send charitable, what they think is charitable contributions, or maybe they don't think that, but contributions to charities and front organizations that then make their way into Pakistan, which is Peshawar particularly, which is kind of the organizational headquarters for bin Laden's group and affiliated groups. A lot of money goes in there. He, however, has his own personal fortune. He comes from a construction millionaire's family in Saudi Arabia. He was estimated at one point to have had a fortune himself of $300 million. There may not be much of that left. He doesn't, it's not that the terrorists, for example, these that have just done this, needed money. What the U.S. is interested, though, is in testing these countries to see whether they will cut off the funds. It's a test of them. Whose side are they on? That is the question the U.S. is asking countries today. Wolf?
David Ensor, thank you very much for your excellent reporting. Samuel Berger was the National Security Advisor during President Clinton's administration. He joins us now from our Washington bureau. Mr. Berger, thanks for joining us. So let me get to some of the points that David just reported about. First of all, the notion that there may still be other terrorists associated with this plot on the loose here in the United States. Is there a sense that Americans should not let their guard down?
Well, clearly security has to be a primary concern, not just in the short term, but in the long term. At airports, at our borders, and more generally. This organization was able to operate in the United States in a way that was beyond, I think, the expectation of the law enforcement and intelligence community. And therefore, we have to look at security not just in the immediate context, but generally over the long term. We're obviously going to have to perhaps recalibrate the balance between convenience and security.
I'm sure you must have been thinking over these past few days about what, if anything, your administration could have done, the Clinton administration could have done, as far as Osama bin Laden, assuming his organization was responsible for this, that perhaps you didn't do for whatever reason, rethinking, Monday morning quarterbacking some of your decisions. Anything come to mind?
Well, bin Laden was one of the highest priorities, certainly since the '98 bombing of the embassies in Africa. We had information that there was going to be a gathering of many of his operatives. We struck that gathering. We had some success, but not complete. There has been a very vigorous effort on the part of the intelligence community to take down cells in a number of countries. We broke up a multi-dimensional threat around the millennium, and we have looked for every opportunity during this period to strike at bin Laden. Unfortunately, it's a very difficult target, as others have pointed out. You not only have to know where he is at a given moment, you have to know where he will be at a future moment. This is not a group that is easy to penetrate. You just don't show up from out of town and say you're a cousin who dropped by. But I think the intelligence community over the last year has had a full court press on bin Laden, and we simply, now that he has escalated this beyond any imaginable level in the past, have to escalate our efforts by the same token.
Samuel Berger, the National Security Advisor during the Clinton administration, thanks for joining us.
Okay, Wolf.
Thank you. And Joey, back to you.
Wolf, as you have talked to Sandy Berger, you talked about some of the complexities about reaching Osama bin Laden, if he is in fact the figure behind all of this. There are those across the world, of course, who have come forward to demonstrate their support for the United States in its time of crisis. Many nations of the world have come forward with their votes of support. But bear in mind, too, that there are people, individuals in this world who have celebrated the attacks against the United States. Help us understand why, what motivates the anger, in some cases the hatred of the United States. Here's CNN's chief international correspondent, Christiane Amanpour.
These Pictures of Palestinians celebrating the terrorist attack on the United States horrified all those who were in mourning. Palestinian leaders were quick to point out that these were only isolated incidents by what they called an ignorant few, and Chairman Yasser Arafat immediately condemned the attacks.